Okay, we're going to turn our attention now to the international newspapers, and Diptyque Laurent is with us in studio for that. Diptyque, we're going to start this time with the Pope's visit to the United Arab Emirates.
That's right. The Pontiff is the first Catholic leader to visit the Arabian Peninsula, the birthplace of Islam, according to the Abu Dhabi-based newspaper The National. Welcome to the UAE, it says on its front page, a message directly to the Pope. Another Abu Dhabi-based paper, Gulf News, notes that the roots of the Emirates were founded on a couple of missionary doctors who brought modern medicine to Bedouins in the desert, who were living and practicing Islam back in the 1960s. The Pope's visit will therefore send a really strong signal that people with different beliefs can live, work and worship together. I'm quoting the paper there. This is the best way to overcome extremism, the paper says. The Guardian's editor is also talking of this visit, speaking of an important signal for Christian-Muslim relations, saying that the Pope has a really unique position as the head of the largest organized religious group in the world.
You have, however, Diptyque, also found some critical editorials on the visit.
Mainly coming from a paper called Al-Quds Eve. It's a London-based pan-Arab paper that says this visit is part of the Emirates, quote, PR campaign in a theme for the year being called the Year of Tolerance. The paper actually likens the UAE to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, saying that this PR campaign only hides the more sinister aspects of the UAE, in particular its brutal repression of dissidents. So the paper really not mincing its words there today. It's also, this point of view is also reflected in the illustration from the newspaper. Al-Quds' cartoonist here shows the UAE official being embraced by Catholic and Islamic leaders, while the train of his robes there tainted by, quote, crimes committed in Yemen.
Well, let's stay more or less in the Middle East. And a Bahraini footballer, Diptyque, has been detained in Thailand, and he's going to be stuck there now for at least another 2 months, a judge ruled this Monday.
That's right. And a local paper in Australia called The Courier has really put together a very interesting and very complete backstory to this very complex issue. Hakeem al-Araibi, a Bahraini footballer living in Australia, was in Thailand on his honeymoon when he was detained there by an erroneous Interpol red notice out for him. He's since been languishing in prison, and he'll be spending, as you said, another 2 months there. This after a judge ruled that he'll have 60 days to present his case fighting extradition, because indeed Bahrain wants to extradite him. He says if he goes back home, he'll risk death or torture. This is all dating back to 2012, when he was accused of torching a police station and was sentenced to 10 years in prison in absentia. Craig Foster, the former captain of the Australian football team, has been very vocal in his support of al-Araibi. In today's Guardian, he writes that his case is a battle for the soul of the sport. He calls al-Araibi a, quote, human rights defender, accusing Bahrain of putting pressure on the Thai government to acquiesce.
Indeed, a lot of politicians and campaigners in Australia saying he has refugee status in Australia. He needs to be allowed to go back to Melbourne. Well, I guess we'll keep a close eye on that as it unfolds. But meanwhile, there's a jury has begun deliberating the case of Mexican drug lord El Chapo. This Monday, he's facing a life in prison for drug trafficking and other criminal activities.
That's right. Actually, 10 charges are leveled against him. A jury has heard evidence for basically the past 11 weeks on those charges against Joaquin Loera Guzman, a.k.a. El Chapo. They begin deliberating on that verdict today. The New York Times has actually put together the biggest revelations from this case so far. We've learned things like how far drug traffickers go to avoid being caught, like facial reconstruction, altering their identity so they're not caught. We've also learned about the Sinaloa cartel's worldwide reach, even going as far as corners of China and Thailand. More horrifyingly, last week we heard a witness alleging that El Chapo was also a pedophile in addition to a narco trafficker, drugging and raping girls as young as 13, calling them his, quote, vitamins. Very, very disturbing stuff indeed.
Let's move swiftly on, Diptyque. And Donald Trump, you're telling me, has been forced to address some very important allegations of fake tanning.
That's right. Apparently this is a hot button issue among other worldwide issues. Donald Trump, his caricatures often feature him in this very bold orange, citrusy kind of skin tone, prompting the question, how on earth in the middle of winter does he stay so tanned? In fact, there was a 2018 memoir that alleged that he used a tanning bed every day, an allegation that an unnamed senior administration official has now denied officially to the New York Times, saying that it's not the work of a tanning bed, it's a work of his, quote, good genes.
Well, I'm very glad to get some clarity on that issue. Finally, reactions coming in thick and fast over the Super Bowl's halftime performance.
Yeah, that's right. One moment from that performance has raised eyebrows in particular. Adam Levine, the frontman of Maroon 5, taking his shirt off to reveal not just one, but two nipples, a moment echoing a certain infamous wardrobe malfunction from 2004 involving Janet Jackson. This user here, Katie Nolan, feeling that the Super Bowl's nipple rules, didn't know they had one, but apparently their nipple rules feel a little bit inconsistent. People saying it's a double standard. Another user is much more categorical about the performance in general, saying that Maroon 5 will definitely not get the MVP Most Valuable Player award.
Okay, with
nipple or not.
With that, Diptyque, we'll have to leave it there for that review of the international papers.